everybody, welcome back to Journey Through John, and today we're coming to our conclusion with the story of the Samaritan woman at the well, and we see the result now of her going and sharing the truth about the Messiah, her meeting the Messiah, her meeting Jesus. And so with that, we're going to dive right into this, and starting at verse 39, we'll go through verse 45. It says this: "So many Samaritans from that town believed in him," being Jesus, "because of the woman's testimony," because of her story. "He told me that all that I ever did." That was her story. That's all that she said. Maybe this is the Christ. Verse 40, "So when the Samaritans came to him, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days, and many more believed because of his word. They said to the woman," this is great, "It is no longer because what you said that we believe, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this is indeed the Savior of the world." They're basically, in effect, telling her, your story is now my story. It goes on, it says, "After 2 days he departed for Galilee, going back home. And for Jesus himself had testified that a prophet has no honor in his hometown. So when he came to Galilee, the Galileans welcomed him, having seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the feast, for they had gone to the feast." So let me deal with the last piece and we'll go back. The reason why the people from Galilee were so excited to see Jesus was because of the signs. You're talking about the wedding feast. They were excited to see him because he turned water into wine, and that was a neat sign for them. And so they were excited to see him because of that. The Samaritans, though, they believed what the woman said, and they believed her story. Then they went and met Jesus, and now they had their own story, their own encounter with Jesus. But it all started because of the woman's testimony. She didn't give them go lead them through the Romans road. Romans didn't exist yet. Rome did, but Romans didn't. And she didn't lead them through some plan that was out there. All she said is, "Come and see," he told me, "come and see this man who's calling himself Jesus. He told me all that I ever did." That was her testimony. And yet Jesus used that to reach a village of people. Never underestimate your story. Never underestimate your capability. It's not because it's your capability. It's the fact that you understand that while we will fall short, he will fill the gaps. He's the one that will empower us. He'll give us words, or he'll somehow make it work in a way where if he's drawing someone close to himself, you get the opportunity to be used by him, and he will do the work. All we have to do really is to go out and understanding that he's the one that's the power. He's the one that's the truth. He's the one that will make this happen. And I love this story because in that middle part in verse 42, how they said it to them, and I just want to read that again. "It's no longer because what you said that we believe, for we have heard ourselves, and we know that this is indeed the Savior of the world." I don't believe just because you said so. I was curious because you said so. I might have thought maybe there's something to this because you said so. But then I encountered him, and I have my own story with him. And I think that's so powerful. And really, that's our job, and as we're told throughout the Bible, but we're ministers as a church. We're ministers of reconciliation. We're supposed to carry out the work that Jesus did and proclaim it. And we take our story and we put it out there, but that's where it ends. Our job is to put our story out there and point people to Jesus. But then when people get curious and they start searching him out, now they have their story with Jesus, and then they proclaim their story with Jesus, and it leads others to have their story with Jesus. That's the idea of discipleship. We continue to share, first off with salvation, we share our story and let God do that work. Furthermore, discipleship, the next step that we take there, we continue to share with people what he has continued to do in our life and lead them to have a continuing relationship with him as well. That's the great call upon all of our lives as believers. And so when we look at this, there's a lot of different challenges to us. We have different ideas that we could wrestle with here. What is it that we're leading people to? Are we willing to take the risk? Do we have hope when we enter into these conversations, or are we already defeated? Do we talk ourselves out of these conversations? And are we relying on ourselves to be the ones to have this come across in a way that's so powerful that it'll draw someone to Jesus? Or are we relying on the Spirit of God to be the one to do that work? Do we realize that our encounter is more powerful when we encounter people than we give it credit for? Sometimes I think we just talk ourselves out of it because of one Samaritan woman, because of one person that was a reject of the rejects, if you will. An entire village came to know Jesus. May we not be like the Galileans. We just want more signs. We want one to know, what am I going to get out of this? We don't want to see more stuff. We just want to encounter Jesus. So maybe as you shut down the video here in a minute and you go to a time of prayer, you start thinking through, How can I encounter you, Jesus? How can I spend time? How can I have this encounter? And Lord, could you use me to lead others to encounter you as well? I pray that challenges you today. What a fun story. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow as we continue to journey through John.